Hey everyone, it's Blake. Welcome in to episode number 5 of our TCW series in TEW 2020. This is Total Wrestling for January, week 4, our go-home edition before Malice in Wonderland. As I mentioned before, Malice in Wonderland is going to be kind of a Clash of a Champions-esque type show where we add a lot of matches here on this episode, just to kind of, round out the card and to give you our main event, which we'll talk about here in a second. So next year, Malice in Wonderland will be a much bigger show, but because we only had 4 episodes to build it up, you guys know I like to kind of tell the stories a little bit slower sometimes to really build up what's at stake. And so I didn't want to rush a lot of stuff for this first pay-per-view. So you'll see kind of what we're talking about here as we look at the card. But appreciate all the great feedback as always on this, this series. You guys are having a lot of fun with it. And yeah, like I said, I'm having a lot of fun with it, just booking these shows. So let's jump into Total Wrestling as we start off here. And it is the announce team, Kyle Rhodes and company. They reveal our featured matches for Malice in Wonderland on Sunday on pay-per-view, as we are told that it's going to be T-Bone Bright and Chris Flynn going one-on-one. We had these two involved, of course, last week, kind of in our main event angle there, with which led to a showdown we'll talk about here in a second. But so T-Bone's going to go one-on-one with Chris Flynn. Doc Hammond is going to go one-on-one with Bart Biggins. So the baby faces, have kind of aligned to go up against the Syndicate here with Aaron Andrews out of action after that vicious attack from the Syndicate. And so that's kind of what we're playing up here. So one-on-one matches here. We're also going to have a tag team match, which you guys know what's coming on this one. The Elite, Eddie Chandler and Nate Johnson, are going to team up against Divine Fortune, Daryl Divine, and Chance Fortune. So those are going to be on the card, but our main event is going to be at Malice in Wonderland, one-on-one. Wolf Hawkins, Sammy Bach. We built it up last week with the showdown in the ring, and so that is what is going to be our main event for the pay-per-view. So there are your matches that will join the others we'll talk about here. We've got a couple more to add to the show. We'll talk about those a little bit later. So 65 for this segment. Chris Flynn underperforms. It is what it is. So, by the way, don't forget, we have our TV championship match in the main event slot tonight. Greg Gage taking on Benny Benson. So that should be a good one. All right, here, speaking of T-Bone, he's got a match here, and he gets a win over Troy Tornado, 68 for those one. Not bad in-ring performances here for these two, but T-Bone gets the win, and not much more to add to the match itself, because the bigger question is what happens afterwards. Because this is old school wrestling, and we got to have something after the match. And so, not a great segment, but it gets a 52. So it is what it is. But afterwards, here comes Chris Flynn. You're going to see kind of a theme on this show. As Flynn comes out, goes face-to-face with T-Bone. So we've got these two going face-to-face, but then from behind come the Elite, Eddie Chandler and Nate Johnson. They attack from behind, but that brings out the baby faces, as here comes Fortune and Divine. They make their way out, so we've got more chaos here, which has just kind of been the case with everyone, the Syndicate. Anything the Syndicate is in, it's always chaos, right? So we got some chaos here. Officials trying to break this up, so as you're going to see, the officials are going to be working overtime on this show to kind of keep all these parties from tearing each other apart. So that's kind of what we're pushing here, is just the hatred from the baby faces to the Syndicate for what they did to Aaron Andrews. So that's how we finish this one up, is just these guys fighting off. So let's get to 52 for that one. All right, speaking of tag matches, a 6-man tag here we set up last week, as it is. Mighty Mo and Tana teaming up with Dazzling Dave Diamond to take on the Center Society, Killer Shark Titan, and Nick Booth. And in a 69, nice match here, it is by DQ. The win goes to the babyface team because Nick Booth gets disqualified when Eddie Peak ran in and attacked Mighty Mo. So the first time we've actually had Eddie Peak get physical here in our series. It's usually just been, a combination of these guys. But Eddie Peak leading the Center Society and gets a little hit in on Mighty Mo for this one. So that leads to the DQ, and then again, that's just pushing us towards the tag team title match where it will be Mo and Tana challenging Killer Shark and Titan for the tag team championships at Malice in Wonderland. So in-ring stuff, Mighty Mo's great. Tana, good stuff. Titan, I think a little underrated here. When you look at Titan at a 63, probably better in-ring worker than we'll be given credit for. But Nick Booth, kind of the weak link, but still, he's the least popular. He's the youngest of the group, so we got to build up Booth here. So it is what it is. But that leads us into, like we said, the tag team title match at Malice in Wonderland. All right, so this is 60. It didn't go well here for this one, but I know people are asking, someone asked in the comment, and I mentioned in the comments why I did it, but why I'm using Kyle Rhodes. I prefer the old school way, whereas now you just have people come out and grab a mic and start speaking. I prefer the old school way where someone's holding the microphone, a little more official, can kind of move the questions forward and those kind of things. So I've used Kyle Rhodes in this role because he has good mic skills and he's the owner of the company. And it's kind of that Vince McMahon 90s sort of style. So Rhodes comes in and he's here to speak to the Fawns. Yes, Danny Fonzarelli. And Rhodes wants to know about his losing streak. And he says, the reason I'm asking you this, Fawns, is because I think you know that it's been announced that you are going to have a match at Malice in Wonderland, and you're going to try to snap your losing streak against Jay Chord. And that's when the crowd's kind of like oohing, like, uh-oh, Fawns got to try to snap a losing streak against Jay Chord. Oh, my. Don't worry, we're going to hear from Jay in a minute about what he thinks about this match. But like I said, this gets a 60, and Fawns just trying to be the ultimate upbeat babyface here. He's just saying, Kyle, I'm optimistic here. I'm optimistic. I know I'm going to end this losing streak at some point. Change is coming, and I know that change is going to happen soon enough. And so really just pushing Fawns is, again, the ultimate sort of optimistic man here. He's just really trying to push that he's going to end this streak and get back on the winning side of things. So that's what we're pushing with Fawns. You can see he's still very upbeat, still doing, kind of his Fawns thing here, having some fun with the crowd. So the losing streak hasn't completely got him down just yet, but he will face Jay Chord at the pay-per-view. So we'll see what Jay has to say in just a minute. But 60 for that segment. All right, this match didn't do well either. This is kind of this show probably won't do great because we got a lot of multi-man tags and just kind of the way it's set up, but it's fine. 50 for this one. Joshua Taylor beating a developmental talent for the third straight week. Kind of just as you'll see, we've got some plans for Taylor, but you'll see how it plays out soon enough. But there's a reason why we're doing this. So Taylor gets to win over Seth Whitehead, 444. First time we've seen Seth on this one. He's got some decent skills, actually, when I looked at it. So not too bad. But Whitehead off his game, so gets a 25 in-ring performance. So trying to see which of the developmental talents can get the best match with Joshua Taylor. I'm trying to think of who that's been to this point. It may have been the first one. I don't even remember who it was. But so, yeah, that's kind of where maybe it's Joey Philly. Maybe he's had the best so far. I'm not sure. But Taylor gets the win. More to come with him moving forward. All right, tag team action here. Freddie Huggins and Matt Hocking teaming up to take on Elliot Thomas and Dean Daniels, 743. You know who's getting the win here. The heels do it. The Hawk Shock does it with Hocking pinning Elliot Thomas. So Freddie, the best in the ring, 71 for this one, 69. Nice rating here for this match. But the bigger story after the match, because Kyle Rhodes comes back in at the request of Freddie Huggins. That's just the thing. Freddie always calling in Kyle Rhodes. He wants him to be in there when he has something to say. And that's when Freddie says, Kyle Rhodes, I want you to know something. You are standing in the presence of greatness. And he says, you're going to see that greatness on display at Malice in Wonderland. Because even though that coward Aaron Andrews will not accept any of my challenges, someone is going to accept the challenge at Malice in Wonderland, and it's going to be part of the M-Hawk. And Rose just looking around like, what is this guy talking about? M-Hawk. And he said, yes, you're standing right beside M-Hawk, Matt Hocking. We're going to have an M-Hawk at Malice in Wonderland. And he's just like, what are you talking about, Freddie? M-Hawk, Matt Hocking Open Challenge at Malice in Wonderland. You're all going to be treated to this special occasion where we are going to have an open challenge for Matt Hocking. So I apologize to everyone who wanted to see me wrestle. It's not going to happen at Malice in Wonderland, but you are going to see my friend Matt Hocking here in action against whoever decides to answer that challenge, which I know won't be Aaron Andrews because he's a coward. So Freddie pushing his heel ways here, still pushing the theme with Aaron Andrews, although we know he's out indefinitely. He's been taken out by the Syndicate, but Freddie's still pushing this. So another match added to the card, Matt Hocking versus someone. We don't know who it is just yet. 71 for this segment. All right, tag team action again. A lot of tag team matches on this card, as I said. I didn't think this would do great from a rating standpoint, but this is kind of your group everybody together before the big pay-per-view theme here. So Sammy Bach and Bart Biggins get a win over Jeremy Courtney and Roderick Remus here, 10-16. The B-Dropper does it with Biggins pinning Remus. 67 overall for this one. Once again, Bach the best in terms of the in-ring performance. I actually don't. I think I see some stuff in Remus here that we might actually use. I've got an idea for him. So I'm not just, I know he's kind of in a jobber tag team right now with Courtney, but yeah, it's okay. We've got some things I have in mind for Remus we could use in a future storyline. So for now, though, Bach and Biggins get the win. And as I said earlier, kind of what's going to be a theme on this show, here come the Syndicate. Because this gets a 78, and afterwards we see Wolf and Hammond start to taunt Sammy Bach and Bart Biggins. So they taunt them, but here comes the Elite attacking from behind. And so Eddie Chandler and Nate Johnson, again, they attacked T-Bone earlier. We get them sort of attacking from behind here. So we get sort of, So yeah, full-blown beatdown because Bach and Biggins able to fight off Chandler and Johnson here. And then that's where Wolf and Doc start to retreat a little bit. But then we see Bach and Biggins start to chase after. So these two able to fight off the tag team, but then they go after Hawkins and Hammond here. So Bach and Biggins, like, you guys may have the numbers, but we are firing up here. So they start to go after these two. So we kind of see how that plays out here with the babyface getting a little bit of something finally here against the Syndicate. So 78 here for this one, and we will not be done with this, as you'll see in just a minute. So Doc Hammond underperforms, but that's okay with that. So, all right, now we get to Jay Chord, who I said would have something to say about this match with the Fawns, and he does indeed. So this gets a 76 for Jay. Poor improvising dialogue. We've had it quite a bit on the show, but that's fine. So Kyle Rhodes back in talking to Jay Chord. He wants to know what Jay Chord thinks about this match with Danny Fonzarelli. And that is when Chord just says, "What do I think? Are you seriously asking me that question? There is a clear lack of respect for me and my destiny in TCW. I am having to face Danny Fonzarelli on a pay-per-view? That is what you guys could come up with. That is what the booking, committee here in TCW could come up with, is putting Jay Chord in a match with the Fawns." And that is when we kind of see Jay Chord step a little bit closer to Kyle Rhodes. We're starting to see a little bit of a mean streak here from Jay Chord. And he just says, "I'm tired of the lack of respect. Sammy Bach, Aaron Andrews, and I don't care if it's Wolf Hawkins." He said, "Eventually, you're all going to be a part of my destiny." Basically, Jay just says, "I'm going to prove a point to the Fawns at Malice in Wonderland." So, yeah, Jay Chord, not real happy about being put in this match here for Malice in Wonderland. So, and feeling like there's a lack of respect for him trying to complete his destiny to become the TCW World Heavyweight Champion, and taking aim at everyone else kind of in that picture. So, yeah, not a very happy Jay Chord here for this one. So 76 for the segment, and then we get a video package of highlights here looking at the road to Greg Gage versus Benny Benson for the television championship. As we said, we built this up a lot, kind of just building to this match. We've had the tag team stuff. Benson and Fox just have not really come out on the best end of that, but now we get the match we've been building to, television championship on the line in our main event. Here, 68 for this one. Who is going to come out victorious with the TV championship? It is going to be in an 80 match. So good stuff here for this one. The champ retains as Greg Gage defeats Benny Benson 14-38. The Proton Lock does it here. That's the 10th successful title defense now for Greg Gage. Benson off his game. So this gets an 80 even with Benson off his game. So this could have did better, but we see great chemistry here. So that's interesting to note that we do have the great chemistry note between Gage and Benson. So we can always go back to this match at some point, get a good rating out of it. We know now with the chemistry. So Benson would have been on his game. Who knows? May got this to an 82, 83, something like that. So I'm trying to think notes-wise what we did. Yeah, we just called it in the ring. Open match. Yeah, so we really didn't do a lot of anything special here. But Greg Gage wins, and this is kind of really pushing. Yes, Gage has been, involved in some shenanigans here the past couple weeks, but when he gets in the ring and he's defending that TV championship, he's all business. And, ultimately goes to submission here, and Benson just cannot get out for that. So 80 for this one. That's our main event. Great main event on this edition of the show. But like I said, we're not done because we're going to actually finish up with something that did not do as well, and we're going to thank Chris Flynn for that again. But, hey, we're putting Chris Flynn in some segments here. We need him to because he got a match. 74 for this one. So that's when Kyle Rhodes alerts us that something is going on in the parking lot. And we see our video cameras who are out there, and we see the Syndicate hopping into their limo here as, we see a lot of baby faces giving chase. It's not just these guys, but I couldn't fit everyone into the group here. So, again, we're kind of pushing the baby faces just being pissed off at the Syndicate here. So we kind of see Wolf and Doc and Flynn just kind of backing up. They're yelling at the baby faces who are coming after them. And then they just kind of, so let's keep that in mind here. Wolf doesn't run from really anyone. He's not running away. So I don't want to paint Wolf as this coward heel because that's really not how we're painting him, given what they've done. They're very cerebral, but they start to see that their limo's there. They got, more than 3 baby faces kind of coming at them, but I couldn't fit everyone into the thing here. But so we're kind of pushing that the Syndicate is getting out of there in their limo as we have the baby faces sort of chasing after them again, kind of given the attacks and the jumping from behind and all that in the show, and that's kind of what we're pushing here for the Go Home edition, or the Go Home angle here for Malice in Wonderland. So there you go. That's how we wrap it up. 74 for this one. And again, we increase our popularity in 6 regions, 76 for the show. So we'll take that heading into our pay-per-view Malice in Wonderland, which I think is going to do pretty well. Again, given the match lineup and everything we set up for that. So yeah, that is how we wrap up this show. And let's see what we get to before we wrap up. All right, so great show for Total Wrestling. We didn't strike gold on this one, but let's look at our, SWF here. Positive show. Vast majority liked it. Well, they get a 78, so they did better from our show rating standpoint. We'll look at the broadcasting notes here in a second. Remo, look, they had better matches. We kind of had a lot of tag matches sort of building up to our stories on that. So drug test fees for this one, Total Wrestling 3.19, so it's a pretty good rating, I think, but we will look at that to make sure and see exactly what we had. So the rating center we go, and viewership. We had more viewers still, almost 4 million, I guess, close to that, or 3 million for this. So 3 million more viewers than SWF, so we'll take that. Our TV rating, yes, also higher than the SWF, so that's what we're looking for. We got to continue to move right along with the SWF and try to beat everybody in our path. That's our goal for TCW, and again, we'll look at the size and stuff after the pay-per-view because we're already making some strides, I'll tell you that. But for now, be sure to hit that subscribe button. And again, I appreciate you guys' feedback as always. And check out all the other stuff we have on the channel, WWE, AEW, Exploring the Seaverse. Got some more fun videos put together too on the way as well. And again, I hope you're enjoying the series here in TCW. And as you'll see, and this has kind of been the case, I think, with all my series, after the first pay-per-view, you really start to notice things really kick up a bit. So if you've already enjoyed it, I can tell you that there's going to be a lot of very interesting stuff after the pay-per-view, because that's usually, I like to sort of set the stage, build the foundation of the characters, and kind of give you, somewhat of a direction moving forward, but really starts to pick up after the first pay-per-view, so I've got some really fun storylines in motion, and so I hope that you guys enjoy what's to come. So that is that edition of Total Wrestling, and on the next episode of our TCW series, we will preview Malice in Wonderland.